This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so uh, the file list of uh, the iteration between the same file header with many files that would be completed along with the various models of storing that data into stage or temporary file or temporary table storage buffer output. And buffer output, I told you, this would store only one table structure at a time. And if you require to store more than one table data into the temporary table structure, then this will not be supposed to use. So what is would be the other buffer storage? There is a component called t hash. Hash is nothing but many. Okay, collection of buffer stores only single table structure, guys. Hash. So these components you may not find on your Talent Studio. So hash related component, if you search it, so hopefully you may not see those components here. Hash output, hash input, something like that. So then what to do? You can go to File menu, Edit Project Properties, and here you can see Designer Palette Settings. There would be different folders here. You can go to the Technical. Under the Technical, you can see Hash Input, Hash Output. So this is the hide, this is the show. So these components are hidden, and I would like to show in the palette. Select these two components and hit this button. Okay. So once it is been moved, then apply and close, guys. So those components are by default hidden, and we are just explicitly asking to show them. And this is the process. Once you hit that process, and you can see this hash input, hash output components are here. So this would be the same as the temporary storage. Okay, but if you go hash output, if you use more than hash outputs here, and buffer input, we don't have an option which one we need to select, kind of thing. But whereas the hash input, and we would see that option here. Now you can see component list, guys. So let's suppose first hash may be stores in the product data, second hash might be in employees data. So now hash input, you can select any number of hash inputs, guys. Now this and input might be selected with first one is the product, second one is the employee. So if you give a proper naming convention, so that would be easy for you. So this is the products data, and this is the employees data, employees data for suppose. Now in the hash input, you will have this option, which one you would like to extract here. So products one or employees one. So whichever you select on this option, products means you can copy the product schema, whatever you used in the hash output, guys. So let's say if you would like to extract the employees data, then you can copy the same schema from hash output of employees, guys. That's it. So this option is be available hash input, guys, but same option it won't allow the buffer input. That's the major difference here. So why we would use these hash components? Because of this reason, we already have a buffer component, but there is a limitation of storing only one table structure. So we are looking for more than one table structure on the job, then we always to go for buffer to hash components, guys. Okay. So in this use case also, I can show you. Anyhow, we required only one time. So you can use one of the hash component. You can just store this and use the hash input component. And let's assume I'm just using the employees and copy the schema. Yes, this is the schema. Just copy it and go to the hash input and paste it. And you need to select respectively employees only, and your schema should be also the same. Okay, suppose if the schema is employees and your selection is products, then would be a problem, guys. Okay, so from this list you can select respective table storage and also copy the schema, guys. That's it. So then you can use the same as for buffer to hash kind of thing, guys. Just a minute, my system is little slower today. Now I can use on subjob. Okay, and let me connect the flow. That's it. So this is how we can achieve it. So now this is the hash of storage employees. Let's think about within the job there would be a product storage, and you can use wherever hash input of selecting properly, guys. So which table data you are going to be extract here. Select it and also copy the schema. That's it. That is the major scope on it, guys. Okay. And whenever you refer the hash info, and then in the input component, you will also find there is an option called clear cache after reading. So probably whatever the storage onto the RAM, which is call it as a cache. So the better option, once you read the data, whatever the RAM data, cache data, once you read it. So I just extract the employees data. Then I don't want to use this employees data in this job anymore. So if you decide that, that component, you can check this option, guys. Okay, so remember, it's an important, what I mean to say that this is the employees read for suppose. So we store that employees and read it through hash input, and same time I would also read one more time within the job. In the job, I would also read one more time. Like any number of times you can read it on the same table. Okay. So first time we read it here, second time we read it here. So last scope of the job. So this is the final scope to read. Okay. I don't want to read anymore on this job for this employee's data. If you decide that, yes, that component, use this option. Okay, so don't check that option from the first component itself. So if you check this on the first component, what happened? So here that would be extracted and data would be clear. Then after that, if you are trying to read on the same data, you will not get it because that was already cleared. Okay, so that is the reason the last scope. So don't clear here, and better you can always keep the last scope. Suppose if this is the last scope, yes, you can check that option. So wherever you think that that's the last scope where I don't want to extract this data anymore, yes, you can definitely check that option, guys. Don't forget it. Okay. So if you forget that option of check clear cache after reading, what happened? It's keep on creating the caches, guys. Okay. So that is always be a problem in any certain times, guys. Okay. So don't forget it. Wherever you use the hash related component, input whatever the table you are going to be extract, if you think that that is the last scope, okay, then you can check that option. Okay, either any kind of storage you can read any number of times, but hash component, it is purely onto the cache. So you have to take care about this option, otherwise it will be a trouble in not today, maybe after some time, guys. Okay, so that's the scope of the hash component. Now let's move into another important topic what we discussed in yesterday. So now we achieved on this flow called a folder has more than one file, where we can think about the iteration file list component. Okay, and then all the files contains the same header. We can always insert all these four files or five or whatever the number of files into single target, guys. One table, all these files data to be merged into one table. That's what we achieved it. Okay, there would be another use case. What is that use case, guys? Now let me go for replication is one of the folder. I'll just remove it here. So from this replication, I can keep these tables, guys. So some of the files here. How many files? There would be almost six files, I think. Yes. So accounts, addresses, banks, branches, customers, transactions. So there are six files on here. Each file needs to load one table, guys. Accounts would be one table. Addresses is another table. Banks is another table. So each file should load in one table. So six files in the source, six target DB tables, guys. But earlier use case, irrespective of files, all together will be loaded in one table. So that is where we fix the schema. The schema is fixed here. So all the files to contain the same schema. Okay. But the current use case, what we are proposing, this use case, accounts file schema is not same as the addresses. And each file has their own different schema, guys. That is how we have been loading respectively DB table, guys. Each file has one DB table. Okay. The important aspect is when you are using the file list, then that would be the iteration, and after that there would be a file input delimited component. So from the delimited input component, file path we get it dynamically. Each iteration we have a file path. Suppose this is the accounts file path, then it's required respective schema, guys, respective schema. Then the second iteration, customers file path, then also required customers file schema. So we can change it each iteration as the respective schema. So don't think that we can change manually while starting this job, guys. Okay. And same time, the existing approach of the fixed schema will not support for the actual proposed requirement, guys. Okay. So what actually does this? This file path keep on changing. So in this folder, how many files? Six files, guys. So your file list component iterated six times, guys. So every time this file path is giving respective file, accounts file, addresses file, banks file, something like that. Each of the file, we need a schema. We need a schema, guys. Okay. We can't do it manually. So just think about it's a program, guys. Once you start an execution, we can't do anything. We can't do anything, guys. Okay. So especially in these use cases, when the list of files needs to be replicated into DB tables, I'm not saying that single table. I'm saying that tables, multiple files into multiple tables. Okay, so only challenge is schema. How do we map the schema, guys? Okay, so this scenario, only this scenario, there is a concept in the talent called dynamic schema, guys. Dynamic schema. What is mean by dynamic schema? I would say that dynamic schema. Dynamic schema. So this dynamic schema is one of the option to be provided on the current use cases, guys. wherever you find this use case of number of files in the folder, and each file needs to be replicated into respective DB table, or number of tables needs to be migrated from one DB server to another DB server. Vice versa, files to DB or files to file, both are same guys. DB to DB, DB to files, both are same. Two use cases guys. In these two types of use cases, if you want to achieve through talent, then we definitely use the dynamic schema option. So this option is performed by this system, whatever the component we used it, right? When you select this option, internally there would be a program, and it will go to the file path, whatever you given, right? It will go to the file path and get the schema dynamically. So that is the responsibility of the talent process. We do not worry about it, and we will not see the column structure on the component when you apply the dynamic schema, and we are not able to see the column list guys. Dynamically the system will take care, I mean component of the talent process will take care guys. Okay, at runtime it will get the schema based on the file and process the data like that. Okay, so when you apply the dynamic schema option, we will not perform any kind of transformations. So there are various transformation components we have been discussed so far: filter row, unique row. So all these things are be performed based on the column, but dynamic schema we can't see the columns guys. So whenever you process the dynamic schema, we can't use any kind of transformations. Okay, so where do you find this option of dynamic schema? So still we are using Open Studio. Okay, on your end also you have this Open Studio. So Open Studio is nothing but free of cost. So this could be download once and we can use forever. Okay, but there would be a licensed version guys. Same studio, we would purchase some licensed version which is costable guys. When you get this licensed version, we have some additional advantages based on their marketing strategy. Okay, so when you start in a project development on application, we definitely use the licensed version only because we have various advantages guys. So some of the features are being enabled for only a licensed version, not for Open Studio guys. Okay, so if you want to achieve the dynamic schema dynamically to replicate the number of files into number of tables, number of tables into number of files, or number of tables into number of tables, right? So we would use this dynamic schema use case. Okay, but this dynamic schema option supports only licensed version, not for Open Studio. Okay, so I have some licensed version, and you may not do this practice because I think you don't have this licensed version. When you get this licensed version on your environment, you can do this POC guys. Okay, so listen carefully. This is the licensed version. So licensed version, you would see the features also, the menu options also. Here job designs, under there is the standard job-led designs. Open Studio, you may not see that. You will see only job designs. That's it. You can see only job designs. But whereas the enterprise, the structure of the repository would differ, guys. Standards, job-led. Our jobs to be designed under the standard, guys. So this is the place where we create the jobs. Okay, and joblets is the different concept that we would discuss later. Okay, so this standard, this is the place where we would create, guys. Okay, so I'm just creating one folder for you. So under this, I'm creating one job dynamic list. I could say dynamic list, guys. Okay, whatever the job name. So now in the this is the very older version, guys. Okay, so whatever we practiced on 7 Open Studio, it is the latest version. Even the enterprise licensed version also, you would see the latest version only. So far whatever we discussed, it is same as for enterprise. There is no difference, but some more features to be supported only in enterprise. That's how I have very older version. I'm just showing you the demo purpose, whatever the scenarios, guys. Okay, the current use case we would achieve in the licensed version. So as usual, you can take the file list component. So from this file list, what we would do, and I can select my folder. The folder is available underscore under this folder of replication. So under this replication folder, we are looking for files. Case sensitive, generate an error. File mask. This folder has subfolders. We do not care about it, but we are looking for only CSV files, guys. Only the listed files are CSV, delimited files, guys. So we go to that and specify the file mask. Either each file to be entered or you can make it star.csv. That's it. So by order action, that's up to you. Okay. I'm not selecting include subdirectories kind of thing. If the files are be having subdirectories also, then check this option, guys. Okay. Now this is ready to be extracted. Same options, current file path, current file extension. I hope you might be see here. These variables are same. Okay, so now in this current iteration, the folder has these files, guys: accounts, addresses, banks. So here your name is accounts.csv and the folder is not landing replication under what is the name of the file, accounts.csv. So that would be the file path. So that process is same as, guys, there is no difference. Now I'm using file input delimited. Same process, guys. That is the same process. Now I can connect iteration and you can always use the t file list underscore one current file path variable by using the control space. Current file path variable. All files contains the same delimiter. All the files contains the one row header and schema. I am not able to fix the schema, guys, because every iteration we would get the one separate file. That file contains the different schema of each of them. Okay, so what to do here? Then you can go to the edit schema, add one row of the schema structure, do the name of the column, any name you can use it. I can make it data or column list, something like that. Column list. I'm just keeping some name because this name which contains all the list of columns. How? This type, guys, you can see the type as string, something like that. But here, when you go for this type list, there is an option called dynamic option, guys. So this dynamic option supports for only licensed version. So same as if you try on the Open Studio, we go to the schema, add one column and search for type list. I do not see that dynamic option here. Okay, so the dynamic option supports only for a licensed version. Okay, that is the reason where I'm just driving into one of my licensed version, guys. Okay, so keep that name, anything is fine, but go to the type list from where you can select the dynamic, and within this schema, if there are any date columns, and though all those date columns should have the same pattern, guys, same pattern. Suppose there are two date columns, one date column has different pattern, another date column has different pattern, then we can't achieve it. So whenever you use this dynamic schema, there are some limitations. Okay, is there any date column in your table or a file that should be keep the pattern? Let's say if it is not DDMM all together in the same pattern, whichever the pattern of the data is available, just keep that pattern here. That's it. Okay, so then click OK. That's it. So now we can't see any list of the columns. But dynamic option is one kind of internal program, guys. So that program to be achieved our use case, guys. Okay. So now click OK. That's it. So now this will be get the each file. Let's say first iteration is accounts, dynamically those columns to be get it. If it is addresses, dynamically those columns will be get it. If it is banks, so dynamically those columns will be get it. That is the beauty of dynamic. We can't see those column list like. Okay. So finally, I'm going to be store these files, accounts file data into accounts DB table, addresses DB table, banks, branches. So what I would do here, I'll go to the databases. I'm trying to create one database called replication. So this database, just delete and recreate. So I'm creating one database here, replication for suppose. Database name is replication. So I would process my files data into here. Right now, no tables are available. So this job accounts file creates accounts table, addresses file addresses table, banks like each file creates one DB table into this database, guys. Okay, so our job is so far half of the implementation is completed. So iteration started, it gives the first file and first file path respectively dynamically schema is selected. It is ready to extract. So now we would use the DB component. So go to the databases. Older version, you may not see this option like if you go databases DB common something like that. Okay. So in the older versions, new version 7.0 onwards, we would see these databases DB common, DB specific. Okay. So older versions has only specific, no common, guys. Okay. So that's where I'm just using go to the specific. The under the list is specific. Which database server you are going to be use? Go to the database server. Okay. So you do not worry about it. You can look for only common. That's it, because where I'm looking for output component, that's it. This is here it will be specific in the sense whichever the DB server you are processing. So you can select that DB server output component, DB server input component. That's it. That's the only difference, guys. Okay. So if it is the latest version and from the component itself, we are selecting the DB server. It's a common component inside we are selecting the DB server. But whereas the older versions and you select that respective DB server output component. No need to select any DB server. This is itself is MySQL. That's it. So I'm going to enter the connection info. Database is replication. Username is root. Password is root. Okay. So then one challenge here. What is the table name? How would you give the table name? So we can't give a table name like this. If you give a table name like this, what happened? What happened here? So first iteration, it is extracting the accounts table, accounts data and loaded into which table accounts you have been fixed it. Second file is banks and still that is been creating. Same table is already created. So this is wrong. We can't fix that value in the table. Okay. So we can check for dynamically whichever the file is been extracting here. Okay, because file list is giving the file path. This is the file path, right? Same as you have a file name also. Got my point? Current file is giving the file name. Current file path is giving the complete file path. So input delimited component required the file path and storing into the DB or any other. What we do, we need that table name. We can't fix the table name here. We can also set the table name dynamically. How? So anyhow, this parameter is giving file name like this, employee info.txt. But now this could be accounts.csv kind of thing. Okay, so this name, if you set it as a table name, then the problem is table names as per the naming convention, it won't allow the dot, guys. Dot will not allow. The table name, if you try to create accounts.csv, that would fail. It won't allow. Okay, I'm just trying to show you. I'm trying to create table of replication database customers customers dot csv, something like that, columns, let's say cid integer. That's it. I'm just trying to insert this. I'm just trying to create this. It gets failed, so it won't allow you guys dot csv something. Okay, so table name should have some standard names, guys. It won't allow. So the problem, how would I set this? So the one way, you can replace this dot as underscore. Let's say dot needs to be replaced as underscore. Then, then if you make it as underscore, at least then that would be fine. Accounts underscore CSV. Or you can try for hyphen also fine. Anything. Let me check that. So underscore if you give, yes, this would be created. This would be created, guys. So underscore is fine. The table is available. Okay. Or can you try for hyphen? Hyphen. You can try for hyphen. Hyphen gets failed, guys. Only as per the naming standard, underscore would allow, not allows the hyphen, guys. So whatever it is allows on the DB side, we can put it that. Okay. So now I'm just dropping this table, delete this table. Okay. So here also what we do, we can try to replace the dot as underscore. Then when you replace dot as underscore, what is the name here? Like this it will come. Yes, DB allows to create this name as a table, guys. Okay. So dot we need to replace as underscore. This is the one approach. The second approach is either you can remove the file extension .csv. I want to remove it. Remove this CSV. Remove the txt something. So that you can see only accounts, addresses, banks, something like that. So remove and all we would discuss, but only replacement I would tell you how would be by using some function. That function also I can give you. These functions we can elaborate it after completion of this file management. We would start the another important concept of mapping component. At the time we would elaborated all these functions, guys. Okay, so current use case, we got the scenario of the issue that would be resolved by using, there is a function, guys. Okay, first of all, current file is the variable through the file list component, right? This variable gives the each iteration file, but that file name itself we have a dot needs to be replaced. So that is the purpose. What I will do, I'm going here and I can set this table name. So I'm using one of the function called talent, not talent, string handling is the function. There is a there is a list of functions on this string handling, and hopefully I would use one of the function and you guys uh, see in the later. There is a function called eReplace. Okay, so this function, in the name, first argument is name. That name itself t file list underscore one. From there current file is the value, and I'm looking for dot. So dot is the special character. We can use back sequence or some kind of a word. You can use like this. Sequence characters, guys. These are all generally call it as a dot and single quote, double quote, backslash. These are all the sequences. So those sequences we can also refer to backslashes. Okay, and dot, and replaced by what? Underscore, replaced by underscore, guys. That's it. So now this function would help you. Okay. So I'm just showing you this function, how it works, and I'll give you one simple example. Okay. So now I'm using one of the component. I'm just running this function, but in the place of current file, what I would do, I can type some hard coded value. So the value is accounts.csv. So this function replaced it as accounts.csv. Dot should be replaced as underscore, whether it is giving or not. So I would like to print this statement, system.out.println. I'm just printing this statement like this. So I can run only that component. I'll show you how it works, whether it is working or not. So once you run it, we would see the output. That function, if it works, then the value should be accounts underscore CSV. Yes, what is the value here? Accounts underscore CSV. So this is working fine. Now I can activate this. I'm just sharing this function script. So hopefully these functions we can discuss very soon through chat. I'm just sharing. You can copy this, keep it aside. Later we would discuss on it. Okay. So now if you run the job, before running the job, you can just look at here the database name of replication. No table is exist. You are extracting how many files? 6 files. And the tables also expected accounts file to be inserted into accounts underscore CSV addresses respectively. Likewise, so each file should have 1 DB table. So finally 6 files, 6 DB tables we would expect, guys. We go and run this job. See, first iteration, second, third, fourth, sixth, whatever. Each of the iteration we have a table. So your job is completed. We go and check. We go and check. Yes, you can see 6 tables are here. Accounts, we have a, and also each table contains the schema, guys. Dynamically it will get the schema. Okay, but this flow through this flow we can't get the flow, we can't get the schema, guys. Even you go to the output component, we can't see the schema. It is just copying the same column list dynamic, that's it. But internally, okay, the system will take care, guys. Yes, we have all the tables, and you can run this table. Data is also available. Let's say select star from replication database of whichever the table you would run it. You will have a data. Data is also copied. Likewise, you will have everything. That's called the major scope on this current use cases. So dynamic schema, see addresses, everything you have a data as it is, guys. That is the beauty. Okay. So only the effort on it, simple. So earlier use case, current use case, only the difference is earlier use case we have a fixed schema because all the files contains the same header, and finally we insert in one target table. Current use case, each file needs to be one table. That's called dynamically we are populating by using dynamic schema option. That's it. And table name, earlier use case we fix the table name. You can see here because this needs to go for single table, guys. The current use case, it would go for each file as a table. So current file name we are referring, current file is, we have a name, that name itself we are referring, but the problem is dot. Yes, dot should be replaced by underscore. That is how we would see accounts underscore addresses, something like that. Simple. Okay, so we could achieve like this. Okay, now this is the way you can achieve. And right now this folder has 6 files. Later there might be 100 files, doesn't matter. Okay, when you run the job, what many files are in the folder, each file creates as 1 DB table. That's it. That is the beauty. Okay, so 100 files, yes, 100 DB tables to be created. 200 files, 200 DB tables to be created. That's it. Clear? So this is how we can achieve like that. Similar way, let's consider, I'm explaining. I'll go to one of the DB server called Oracle. So I'm just doing the same way with DB2. DB2. Now it is files. If it is DB, then what to do? Let's go for any one of the DB server. Let's go here. You might see there would be n number of tables, guys. You can see there are n number of tables. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 tables are here. We do not worry about the size. There would be 20 tables or 30 or 40 or 100, 200, doesn't matter, guys. Okay. So however we achieve the file, same as you can also achieve the number of tables, guys. Okay, so if you want to extract all these tables from Oracle and loading into files or loading into another DB, same kind of concept. Okay, so now I can explain. If it is a DB list, but this is the file list, guys, number of files. But the other use case is table list, not for a file list. Okay, if it is a table list, and we would have, there is a component, guys. Okay, what is that component here? So now you can go to the common Open Studio latest version. You would see the common, there is a component called DB table list. This is the component, same as in the my version. Let's say data is available in Oracle table list, same as DB table list. Now this is be particularly Oracle table list. Everywhere you will find it. Suppose if it is MySQL table list, everywhere you could get it. So Oracle table list, guys. This is the component. File list for files, table list for tables, guys. So open this component, and this component is restricted to go for only connection. We do not have an option to enter the hard coded values. You need to create a connection, guys. Okay, no problem. So I want to go for Oracle connection. Yes, that is called DB connection. We already discussed, right? So go to the Oracle connection. Now I need to specify the info. Localhost database is standard XE. Schema nothing. Username, I would check that. What is the username? Batch 20 August. Batch 20 August. Password is also same. Mostly this would be password. Not sure. Okay. So that's it. Additional parameters are empty. So connection is ready. Then we go here and we need to specify the connection. That's it. So there is a filter here where class for table name selection. Normally this would select all the tables on the particular user ID. In this user, what many tables are available, everything it would be, guys. Yes, we have that option. Okay, so one filter. This filter, we have an example. Table names are always in uppercase. Example, if you want to do some kind of a filter, you can keep this. Let's say table name, it's a standard keyword. Table name not like A. So that means in any of the tables starts the name as A, those tables will not be extracted kind of thing. Okay. But anyhow, I'm not using any filters. I want to extract all the tables. Don't worry about this filter, leave it. So this is same as the file list. So file list itself, we have a variables. Same as you can go to the table list component, you will see Current table is the variable. That's it. Current table is nothing but what? Current file is nothing but same file name, right? Current table will give you like this. Current underscore table, which will give you first iteration for first table. Let's say accounts. Second iteration for second table. That's it. This is giving the table name, guys. Second iteration for customers, whatever the names on the tables. Yes, we would go. So normally if you want to extract any of the DB table, we would use the input component. Yes, we can use this input component existing connection. So normally what to do, we can use the table name. So table name, we fixed it, but here through iteration, each of the iteration, we need the table, right? So we can use T table list component of table name. So this will give you dynamically first iteration, first table. Query name, query also we need to give at least select star from table name. So that table name we don't know. So this variable is enough, guys. So first iteration, this component gets the name of the table, select star from the table. Schema, no worries, we have a dynamic schema. So I can make it column list and type. So if you see this, there are two columns, type and DB type. Okay, you can always look for type only, don't look for DB type. Under the type, you can see dynamic option. Yes, date pattern. That's it. That's it. This is ready to. Okay, so now you can extract those tables and loading into where? Suppose I'm loading these tables into, let's say, uh, archived folder. Archived folder, guys. Okay, it's in the files, all the files, guys. I'm just loading from archive each of the table. I'm just loading as a files, guys. So very simple. We can use the T file output delimited and we can connect this. Okay, and we can select the folder. We can select the folder under 20th June application archive where I would select it, right? Under the folder, under the folder, file names we don't know, right? Through that variable, which variable? T Oracle table list current table which returns only the name like this accounts customer dot extension we can use it plus double quote start dot csv. That's it. Folder file name is a variable. We are doing a concatenation. Folder path plus variable name plus dot csv extension. Include header. All the files creates the comma delimiter. That's it. That's it. And you need to throw an error, leave it. That's it. So this will create over. So now if you run this process, same as the file list, now the table list, guys. So now your process starts, connection is done, first iteration, second iteration, all the iteration, each iteration, you can see here, accounts file is this, addresses, banks, branches, like whatever. So earlier use case, files to DB, whatever. Now the current use case is DB list to files. Now it would get all the files, all the table as a file here. Okay. Suppose I don't want the files. Okay, because my main intention of Oracle, we have these many tables. I want to migrate into another DB server. Okay, another DB server of replication for suppose. Now I'm just dropping this and delete this and recreate. So replication database. So right now this is empty. No tables are available. I'll go back to here and remove this component. Keep the MySQL output component you connect this, and your connection info localhost, database name is replication, username is root, password is root, table name anyhow that variable is giving the table name. Yes, we can refer the table name T Oracle table list current table. So create table, if not exist, insert Diana error. Over. That's it. So Oracle extract the table and loading into MySQL. Second iteration, second table. Third iteration, third table. Okay. So once you are be confident on the source to target mapping, then this list component to understand. If you are not still confident on this input output components, then you will have a lot of questions on this table list and file list. Okay. So now this is being performed into tables, guys. Earlier I shown as a files, table to file, but now this is being inserting, loading into tables. Now you can see tables are being loading. So all the tables, whatever it is. Let's say I can run the data. Replication dot accounts. Let me check. We have a data or not? Yes, we have a data. Simple. So this is how you can achieve through the dynamic schema by using files, number of files to respective target, number of tables to respective target. But both of these use cases require the dynamic schema option, guys. Okay. Now in this session, you may not do any kind of practice because you may not have the licensed version. Okay. We can't achieve these scenarios through Open Studio, guys. Okay. So just walk through and write it down the steps and try to understand. Okay, walk through this session many times and take the notes, guys. Okay, so I would like to give you one more use case on the same manner. Okay, that use case we will discuss in the Monday session. Clear? Any questions so far?
Hello.
Are you be there? Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
I'm not able to
Sir, I have
see.
a one doubt, sir. TB row. Day before
T
yesterday's section. DB row.
DB row, not
Yes,
TB
sir.
row, DB row.
Yes, sir. I didn't understand clearly.